Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome to my review of the Kizer Theta titanium frame lock. Check out the funky flipper, sometimes called a top flipper. Now, it does require a little bit of a wrist motion to decisively open it, at least for me. I'm not very well practiced with that type of flipper. All right, but this is a titanium frame lock. It is designed by Elijah Isham. Isham? I hope I pronounced that right. Okay, listen to this opening. Yeah, I turned the volume up there just so you could kind of get a feel with your ears. But yeah, it does require a little wrist flick, but like I said, I'm not even used to that type of flipper. And also I was using my offhand because I'm actually, I'm holding my camera in my left hand and I am left-handed. All right, the blade length on this is around 3.1 inches. It looks bigger, doesn't it? But no, actually, I measured it around 3.1 inches. S35 VN steel. That is considered a premium steel. So very good materials on this. That steel and then the titanium. Here's a close-up. Do a little flyby for you. All right, and this note the angular design, very futuristic, very, Transformers more than meets the eye, Decepticon-ish. But the blade shape itself kind of reminds you of like a scaled down kitchen knife. I know I have a few kitchen utility knives like a Santoku blade that are around that shape, much larger though, of course. All right, now this is kind of an expensive knife. Yes, I have used it a lot because just to better give you and Kizer my opinion on this. All right, now as you might know from the materials, it's a more expensive blade, but if you want less expensive ones, check out the Tangram line by Kizer. All right, coming up, initial sharpness, just listen to the cutting. All right, and there you go. So it did come sharp, and here is some harder use. Right, yes, the cardboard. I did speed this up and edited it just for length. Don't worry, it's just going to be like a minute of this just to prove to new people, yes, I actually do use the knife. Even expensive collectible folders, I'll still use them just in order to get a feel for them. This was sent to me by Kizer, and another reason I try to use it a little extra is just because, they want my opinion on the blade. Well, I can give a better opinion if I have more time with it in hand. So there you go. Not designed as a box cutter, obviously, but it does really well. Got to be careful. You want a box cutter, not a finger cutter. But one thing I did learn from this little exercise is that the kind of extra wide blade shape was really good for shearing type cuts, right? And when you cut through pieces of cardboard like this, that's a straight line cut. So there's many different types of cutting. I mean, like a scimitar, a katana, a butcher's knife, those would all slice in a different way than I'm using this, but this tells me about this type of cutting. And there was more, and that's all of it. And through the magic of editing, yeah, it did some work that day. But as I said, it just gives me information about that particular type of cutting with that particular knife and, how the handle felt. And it would be good at shearing type cuts because, as I said, extra wide blade shape, good for some things, not for others. As you see, the tip is also forward of the center line of the blade, good for draw cuts. There's a slight curve to the blade, so it could slice as well. I didn't get into the kitchen and slice up a tomato or anything, but that curve will make it slice. So this is just some whittling. Yes, feel the excitement. Whittling is good exercise, at least for grip strength, especially if you're using firewood. If you're going to whittle small figurines and little garden gnomes, which I've never been good at doing, but if you're going to whittle garden gnomes, you want to use softer wood. But I use harder wood because I'm making, it's going to be a letter opener. It just needs about 5 more hours of detail work and then to be sanded down with sandpaper by hand and then painted with 3 coats of paint, 3 coats of varnish, then a paracord handle put on. It's going to be a lot of work. That's why it looks like crap right now, because it's just like the first 2 minutes of it, but whatever. And again, this is not a whittling knife. but it's a good way to put use. And most people are not going to push their expensive folder into hardwood anyway, so I feel like I'm using it harder than most people would use it. Thus, I can feel confident in giving an opinion on it. Is it comfortable? Yeah, it's comfortable. I don't need the gloves, but having arthritis, it just a little bit of compression and so forth and warmth makes it hurt a little bit less. But you're actually seeing my pain right there. I hope you appreciate it. All right, as you watch that, let's do pros and cons for this knife. You know, Kizer did send this to me, but it's still going to be a fair and balanced review. I'm going to list good points and bad points and let you decide, all right, and try not to exaggerate in either direction. So what are possible deal breakers? Well, one would just be the price. You're not going to get these materials for a super budget price. That's just the way the world is. The price of this is $155 currently on Amazon. Check the link if you want to pick one up. Yeah, you know, everybody has a price that they won't go beyond. You know, for some people that's $30. For some it's $100. If this is just beyond your comfort zone, then it doesn't matter if the knife is good or bad, because even if it was super good, it's not going to make extra money appear in your wallet for you to buy it, right? So the price is not the fault of the knife. Here is a letter opener. This is the previous letter opener I made. I just wanted to show this because I know my pointy stick kind of looked like crap. You're like, where is this going? Are you even doing anything to it? Yeah, it'll look like that. It just takes a few more hours work, but there you go. So yeah, there's the price. But a bigger concern might be the funky flipper. You know, the top flipper, most of us are used to a conventional index flipper. And so it might just be a pain in the butt getting used to something new, and it is a little harder to master. You can get it smoother and faster if you practice more, but maybe you just don't want to do that, right? So the funky flipper might turn some people off, but I have to say that flipper is also a benefit because it's so small and streamlined and unobtrusive. It's not going to poke into you, for example. It just makes the knife easier to actually carry. And it is also a legal benefit because there are some areas, some countries that pretty much restrict regular index flippers. But I do not think many of them would restrict this simply because their customs are not going to even know how to open it. And they're going to assume that large cutout is probably the opening facility. So it could be a legal benefit depending on where you live and how hard-ass the customs is. Oh, and by the way, you can actually open it with that cutout, you know, like you can use it like an opening hole. You can even Spidey drop this. I didn't realize that until after I filmed this, but I was hanging out here, I was Spidey dropping it. So if you know what that is, another way to open the knife in case you don't want it to flick out. All right, so yeah, those are the possible deal breakers, just the price as well as maybe you don't like the flipper. There was a problem with a weak detent reported on some of the early, the first run, but those seem to be corrected because mine does not have a particularly weak detent, so I think that's been adjusted. All right, so what are the good parts? Well, it's a streamlined design. You've got premium materials, a great steel, a very useful, versatile blade shape with draw cutting, shearing cuts, slicing, right, piercing with the tip. So versatile, useful blade shape, attractive appearance. And this might be an expensive knife if you're used to budget knives. However, when you compare this to the stuff it's supposed to compete with, this knife is actually produced to compete with even more expensive knives with similar materials, but just maybe $100 more in the price tag department. So this is a bargain in some ways if you're into the pricier knives. These materials for $155, there are definitely other brands that would charge $255 for the very same materials and the very same quality level. So yeah, this was made for people who really are fans of that designer and just fans of pricier production knives. It actually was very well received because I checked out a lot of reviews. I was expecting maybe some hate, but no, the community likes this knife, at least the people who go to this price range. It's quite popular. It will be hard for people to believe, how can you pay more than $100 for a pocket knife? How can you call that a bargain? you're just gonna have to trust me or watch some other reviews. Everything's relative. Like the price has to be compared to the price of competing items, and yeah, this is a relative bargain in its field. I mean, it's kind of in a sweet spot where it's pricey, it's nice, but it's not like out of reach of a person if you want to save up. So I hope you enjoyed this review. Please check out the Amazon links. They do help support the channel. And remember, Kizer has the Tangram line, which is a budget-friendly line between $25 to $40 usually. Unlike other brands that will only sell you something expensive, they'll sell you some budget stuff just to earn your trust, essentially. Smart business move on their part. All right, this has been We All Juggle Knives. I'm out.